Welcome back to Words Matter. So let's share some words. Today I want to talk to you about the word Kavanah. Kavanah is a theological concept in Judaism that has to do with the intent of a worshiper whenever they're doing prayer and rituals. In the book that I read recently, To Pray as a Jew, I really was interested in this because it talks about how he who prays must direct his heart to heaven. And so I've just sometimes think about that and how can we help direct our heart towards heaven? How can we help to prepare the soil, so to speak, for the seed that God wants to plant in us? So how can we begin to get our heart right, and whenever we're praying to God, like what can we do to help us in that moment to prepare our soil, to prepare our hearts for God? And some of the things that I thought of whenever I was just thinking, it was stuff like being aware of God, uh, being intent to obey His command, be aware of what you're saying, making sure that you're meaning what you're saying. Because I grew up in the Catholic Church, and some people are always like, oh, well, it's just a bunch of memorized prayers, and it's just a bunch of, they stand up, they sit down, they just do this and whatever. But the thing is that if you know the meaning behind what you're doing and you are truly meaning what you are saying when you're saying it, then I believe that that is a true prayer to God. And I do believe that it means something. I mean, how many times do people say the Our Father, and it may be the same words over and over, but you mean them from your heart, and that's the example Jesus gave us to pray. I think that there is meaning, even if it's the same words or the same, you know, gestures, so to speak. I think it's the intent of your heart. I think it's what you are saying to God in that moment. And I believe that He hears what you're saying. I believe that sometimes when we're having a hard time being ready to talk to God, for me personally, music helps. Like if I sing praise and worship songs, sometimes at home I might even make up my own mini church service. Even though I'm not in church, I'll have my church songs to help me get started, and then break into some prayer and then read some scriptures. Whatever it helps in that moment for me to really connect with God. Sometimes I've had to follow a prayer guide, especially like during COVID when things were kind of crazy. It helped to have a prayer guide. When I was going through stuff with my daughter and my mind was having a hard time focusing, having a prayer guide made a huge difference, just to help my brain wherever it was to be able to focus and be able to have that true intent that I needed at that time in order to pray to God. So having a prayer guide can definitely help at times. Your posture, this is one of those things that should be obvious, but you know, don't be laying in your bed like they say. If you're trying to pray, if it's going to make you fall asleep and you're not going to be able to stay awake. So if you need to sit in a chair or you need to walk around or something, then do that. If it helps you to lay flat on your face because you want to be in supplication to God, then do that. If as long as you're physically able, if you don't have bad knees or anything that's going to be hurting, get into, whatever prayer posture actually helps you to focus on God and really just feel His presence. And sometimes it helps to literally sit and think about God and think about the fact that He's with you and He's here with you right now and He's here. Just reminding yourself literally that He is here and taking a moment to fully embrace that and fully breathe that and just allow yourself to fully feel the fact that He's there with you. For me, that helps. Be creative. An example of this is when my daughter, Catherine, we read a book and it talked about different things you could do. And one of them was to make a prayer place. And so we actually put up the tent and she made like a little prayer place inside the tent and she decorated it. And so that became her place to pray for a while. And that was really cool because it was very encouraging to her. All right, guys. Well, hope you got something out of this. It's just something I wanted to talk about because I think sometimes getting our heart in the right place really does help whenever we're trying to focus and trying to pray. I'll see you next time. Bye.